Dame amor, besos sin cuento, ha sido de mis cabellos y 1100 tras ellos, y tras ellos 1100. Hoy de muchas millares 3. Y porque nadie lo sienta, desbaratemos la cuenta y contemos al revés. Ay, sin tu amor moriré, sí, mujer, porque tú eres ilusión. Tú le das al corazón la aventura que soñé. No me mires así, porque voy a morir, pues no puedo vivir con desprecio de ti. Ay, vuelve tú a mirar, que es mi adoración, tener tu compasión, ángel de amor, que aquí vengo a pedir e implorar el perdón por si fue a morir. Adiós, adiós.
Good morning. My name is Val Bryant, and I'm proud to serve as board chair here at UUCA. Oh, and I have announcements. Wonderful. It's all going to work out. We are a community that upholds the sacredness of all people, all backgrounds, races, genders, sexual orientations, abilities, and disabilities, both seen and unseen. Whether this is your first time with us this Sunday morning or if you're a lifelong member, I'm glad that you're here. And one announcement is that Alianzas invites you to a beautiful slideshow with refreshments in the Reeb Center after service. As well, after service, you can join us for coffee hour in Fellowship Hall directly behind you. And if you'd prefer a quieter atmosphere, we have a welcome room if you go out the doors and all the way to the right. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Amy Shields. My pronouns are she, her, and I am serving as your worship associate this morning. We are so glad to have you with us on this long weekend, this rainy morning. Want to just acknowledge all of the folks that make this service possible and thank our wonderful guest musician, Addison and David, for bringing Addison to our congregation. We have our AV team and our ushers and our greeters outside. You'll also be hearing more from several of our Guatemala delegates today during the service. I think that it's really a special thing to be able to participate in a lay-led service, and so I'm really excited to be here with you this morning. Now, one of my favorite parts of our service every Sunday, I invite you to rise as you are able to greet one another. If you're joining us online, drop into the chat to say hello. Our call to worship this morning is For When We Greet Each Other. It's by Rosemary Watola Trommer, and it's from the anthology 100 Falling Veils. I want a new ritual for when we meet each other, strangers or beloveds, friends or rivals, elders or children. It begins by holding each other's eyes the way we behold sunrises or the first cherry blooms, which is to say we assume that we will find beauty there. And perhaps some display of open hands, a gesture with palms up that suggests both I offer myself to you and I receive you. There should be a quiet moment in which we hear each other breathe, knowing it's the sound of the ocean inside us. If there are words at all, let them be formed mostly of vowels, so they're heard more as a song than as a spitting, more like river currents and less like throwing stones. Words that mean something like, I do not know what you carry, but in this moment, I will help you carry it. Or something like, everything depends on us treating each other well. And if we said it enough, perhaps we'd believe it. And if we believed it enough, perhaps we'd live it, treating every other human like someone who holds our very existence in their hands, like someone whose life has been given to us to serve, even if it's only to walk together safely down the street, even if it's only to walk together to hold a door, to pass the salt, to share a sunset, offer a smile, and say with our actions, you belong. Second time's a charm there. This morning, we light our candle of compassion and solidarity with those in our country and around the world who are experiencing loss, uncertainty, or fear. On this Memorial Day weekend, we especially send our thoughts to those who have felt the impact of war or state-sanctioned violence, those who have served and who have been lost, those who have been victims of conflicts, and those who are grieving. This morning, we are especially holding Betsy, Zoe, and Nikki Rosso so close after Randy's passing earlier this week. We also hold other members of our congregation who have experienced loss in the last weeks and months. We light this candle so that they know that they are not alone. I light this candle for all of us who have been broken and wounded, yet still hope for the future we can build together. May we hold those who are suffering in our hearts as we work to create a more just and equitable future.
We gather together as a community of memory and hope to celebrate life and its infinite possibilities for love. Together in one voice, we light this chalice as a symbol of the light within every human heart. May our individual sparks meet and merge, bringing both light and warmth to the world.
We invite you now to rise in body or spirit and join us in singing hymn number 346, Come Sing a Song with Me.
Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring
I'd like to invite our young folks and young folks at heart who might like to come up and join us. We have our lovely rug here in the front for our wisdom lesson this morning. Welcome. All right, it's great to see so many folks here. All right. So, this morning, we're going to talk about bridges because bridges connect us across lots of different distances. And our story is going to help us think about that connection in a little bit of a deeper way. This is called Building the Bridge as We Cross It. It's by Sarah Lawal and Jem Emerson Page. Once upon a time, there were two villages, the Sun Village and the Moon Village. They were separated by a deep canyon. And for a long time, both villages existed separately across the canyon, happily humming along in life. They knew that the other one was there, but they didn't really interact with each other at all. Both villages were beautiful. There were places to play and places to sit and contemplate. People helped each other in their village when things were hard. They cooked food, they created art and music, and they did all of the things that you might do in your own home. But one day, an earthquake hit the Sun Village and shook everything so badly that it turned upside down. Buildings were crumbled and streets were destroyed, and water even flooded in some places. And everyone in the village was really, really upset. They tried to do everything they could to rebuild their homes and to find supplies, but they could tell that it wasn't enough alone. When the Moon Village heard the commotion and saw the destruction across the canyon, they felt so sad for their neighbors. They said to each other, well, what can we do? We have to help. The Moon Village knew that they had a lot of things that they could bring. They could bring extra hands to rebuild. They could bring supplies. They could care for children and for older people. They knew that a stronger network of care means a stronger community. They had a vision, but they didn't have a plan. And it's really hard to come up with ideas when you're scared or you're upset. Until one child says, well, why don't we just build a bridge to connect our two villages? Do you think that's a good idea? Yes. Yeah, I think it's a good idea too. So did all the other villagers. Only no one had ever built a bridge before, and they didn't know how to start. Some wanted to map out the entire design from beginning to end. Some wanted to create some checklists of people and supplies that they could take. Some wanted to talk to an expert and get all of the expert opinions. Until a kid just like you all, said, we have a lot of materials and thoughtful people, but we don't have a lot of time. Why don't we just start building and learn as we go? We can build the bridge as we cross it. That was true. There were people who were hurt and they needed to begin feeding and caring for the Sun Village. So the Moon Villagers got to work. Each Moon Villager contributed. Some shared their wood, others brought food. Some were able to stay for days, and other people could just come and go as they had time to contribute. It was a sustained effort, and each had time and something to give, so everyone could bring something to this bridge effort. As the bridge began to come together, it wasn't always pretty. They tried some things, and maybe it didn't work, or a piece of the bridge didn't fit like they thought it would, and that was really hard when they had those times. But the builders knew that they just needed to move back and try again. Sometimes no one knew exactly what to do next, and that is not always a comfortable feeling. But over time, they trusted themselves and each other to learn the way. Finally, the bridge was completed, and everyone was able to cross between both villages and share all of the resources they had. Suddenly, they found themselves joined together, and soaking up all of the differences between the Sun Village and the Moon Village. There were new foods to try, new music to listen to, new ways of seeing the world. And everyone was so grateful for that opportunity to build that bridge and to come together. Even after the Sun Village was rebuilt and the Moon Villagers returned home, they still stayed connected by that bridge. And sometimes things went wrong. Sometimes a board fell off that bridge, but they knew now that they could go back and fix it, and then they would get to work. So I'm wondering for all of you, how do you stay connected to people in your lives? Anyone maybe FaceTime? Go ahead. Sports with your friends. You do activities together. Does anyone ever call maybe family that doesn't live here or friends that don't live here? Yeah. Lots of ways that we can stay connected even when we're not close together. So today we have different instructions, so listen carefully. Preschool through 5th grade, you are going to go down to your RE classes and we're going to sing you out. We're going to make a bridge as you go. If you are in 6th grade or older, you're going to stay in the service this morning so you can go find your folks to sit with again. Thanks for joining me this morning.
Peace to you on your way. May you grow in love each day. Meeting new friends and opening your mind to the wonders of the world you will find. To the wonders of the world you will find.
As we settle into our time of prayer and reflection this morning, I invite you to consider the ways that our world is a never-ending series of connections, and those connections bridge endlessly seeming divides. Today is about service, about memory, and about the ways that we are part of something bigger than ourselves, and the ways that we show up to answer this call. On this Memorial Day weekend, I'd like to offer these words from the book Morning Watch by Barbara Peskin. It's a reminder that while this holiday is dedicated to the memory of those who have been lost to the violence of war, we all have the power to create a better world. Spirit of life, whom we have called by many names in thanksgiving and in anguish, bless the poets and those who mourn. Send peace for the soldiers who did not make the wars, but whose lives were consumed by them. Let strong trees grow above graves far from home. Breathe through the arms of their branches. The earth will swallow your tears while the dead sing, "No more, never again, remember me." For the wounded ones and those who received them back, let there be someone ready when the memories come, when the scars pull and the buried metal moves, and let there be forgiveness for those of us who were not there, for our ignorance in what they are experiencing. And in us, veterans in a forest of 1,000 fallen promises, let new leaves of protest grow on our stumps. Give us courage to answer the cry of humanity's pain, and with our bare hands, out of full hearts, with all our intelligence, let us create the peace. May it be so.
sale tu compasión. Sopla volar, sube en la mar, hasta volar la justicia de la vida. Arraigame, libérame, fuente de amor, ven a mí, ven a mí. Spirit of love, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the strings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Whose hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of love, come to me, come to me.
Hi, I'm Bruce Ryder. During the Guatemalan genocide, supported by our United States government, it is estimated that 200,000, mostly Mayan indigenous people, were lost or disappeared. Of that number, about 5,000 were lost in the Guatemalan department of Baja Verapaz. This is an area about the size of Rhode Island, with a population about equal to our own Arlington. Imagine that loss to a community like our own. There is no Guatemalan National Day of observance for this loss. It is in this mostly rural place that Atavima is centered, in the town of Rabanal that we visited, supporting the education of middle and high school age children who might not otherwise be able to continue in school. A prerequisite for acceptance to the Atavima program, the scholarship program, is a family relationship by the student to a person who was lost in the genocide. All of these children's lives have in some way been impacted by the traumatic loss of an ancestor. The cost to support a single student for a year in school is an entire $850. For several years, we have been able to support about 20 students annually. Your donations today help us to meet our goal of continuing support. As a community of memory and hope on this Memorial Day weekend, please let your generosity be in respectful memory of the lost ancestors and an optimistic hope for the children of those ancestors, for all of those who have no Memorial Day. As is our custom for sharing our plate, 70% of today's offering will travel to Guatemala to fund education through Atavima, while 30% will stay here at UUCA to support our ongoing work. The ushers will now take the offering.
Llegarás. El amor nos espera y me dirás, amada, primavera. Un día me amarás, estarás de mi pecho tan cercano que no sabré si el fuego que me abraza es de tu corazón o del verano. Un día llegarás, el amor nos espera y me dirás, amada, ya llegó la primavera. Un día me amarás, estarás de mi pecho tan cercano que no sabré si el fuego que me abraza es de tu corazón o del verano. Un día me tendrás, escucharemos mudos latir nuestras arterias y sollozar los árboles desnudos. Un día, cualquier día, breve y eterno, el amor es el mismo en verano, en otoño y en invierno.
Will the ushers please come forward? We bless and receive these gifts, opening our hearts to true generosity. Please say with me, let us be grateful when we give, be it time, talent, or treasure. Let us be grateful for our needs and the experience of vulnerability. Let us be grateful for those who share their gifts to nurture this congregation.
Our reading this morning is an excerpt from a longer article called One for All by Astor Taylor and Lee Hunt Hendricks. It was originally published in The New Republic. The culture of the atomized individual has brought us to the brink. Our obsession with wealth and power has turned out to be the path to destruction of our habitat and of ourselves. If we want to find a way forward, we must adopt a fundamentally different vision of human enterprise and shared endeavor. The idea of solidarity describes the ways in which we are bound together and how we can act in concert to change our circumstances. Our culture is currently awash in semblances of solidarity that, even when well-intentioned or laudable, fall short of the real thing. Consider common appeals to allyship and altruism. Such locutions convey a sort of optional quality, a moralistic tone, an unreliable trendiness. There are invitations to be a good and generous person rather than the necessary expressions of our interdependence. Thus, they are woefully unequal to the task of sparking concerted mass action on the scale that we now urgently need. Meanwhile, high-profile aspiring leaders, such as billionaires Howard Schultz and Mike Bloomberg, prefer to speak of empathy and helping others. While again laudable as a personal quality, empathy tends to fall apart entirely as a precept for democratic political mobilization. Simply put, there's a profound disparity of social powers embedded within its practice. As employed by the Schultzes and the Bloombergs of the world, it signals a constellation of feelings that members of our power elites are able to beneficiently lavish on the less affluent and more oppressed. People of means have long preferred charity and its institutionalized counterpart, philanthropy, to solidarity. Under the virtuous-sounding guise of charity, the rich and powerful can bestow kindness from on high without feeling implicated in or responsible for the systems that produce poverty and oppression in the first place. In this deeply retrograde dynamic, donors and patrons reap uncritical plaudits for their generosity without prodding the discourse towards any serious discussion of the sort of change that might produce a fairer society in which billionaire philanthropists no longer exist. Solidarity, in contrast to charity and philanthropy, isn't one-sided. It is a form of reciprocity rooted in the acknowledgement that our lives are intertwined. In complex ways, solidarity is related to but distinct from identity. A solidarity aiming at transformational change, the horizon towards which solidarity must now of necessity be directed, demands that we not just recognize and sympathize with the plight of others, but also join them as equals, reaching across differences without erasing them. Solidarity in its sublime form shatters the boundaries of identity, connecting us to others even when we are not the same. Unlike identity, solidarity is not something you have, it is something you do, a set of actions taken towards a common goal. Inasmuch as it is something experienced, it is not a given, but must be generated. It must be made, not found. Solidarity both produces community and is rooted in it, and is thus simultaneously a means and an end. Solidarity is the practice of helping people realize that they, that is to say that we, are all in this together. We're now going to hear several reflections from folks who have been part of Guatemala delegations. And so I would like to invite our first speaker to come up.
Hi, I'm Barbara Lachlan. I was one of 6 people who went to Guatemala this March. So we're fresh back from our trip and eager to tell you all about it. It was 5 people from UUCA and my 21-year-old grandnephew. So it was a wonderful experience. We met with our human rights partners working in Guatemala to renew the ties between them and our congregation. For over 20 years, we've supported 2 human rights groups in Guatemala. One is our partner NISGUA, N-I-S-G-U-A, which is based in the capital, and it provides accompaniers upon requests from Mayan groups and individuals. The second human rights group that we support is Adivima, and they administer the scholarships that Bruce told you about to descendants of genocide victims, among other things that Adivima does. And Anne will tell you more about them, and I'll tell you a little about Nizgwa. So what is an accompanier? Is it someone who plays piano while you sing? People contact Nizgwa and request an accompanier to come stand beside them in witness. So basically, the accompanier is a witness. And for example, if they are blocking a silver mine from operating and polluting a river, or if they are commemorating victims of genocide when a dam was built that flooded out many, many villages, and then decades later, because of action by these groups, a bridge was built, going along with our theme of building bridges, that reconnected villages that had not been able to see each other for a long time. And that was done with reparations money. So an accompanier might be going to such a commemoration ceremony. Here at UUCA, we provide a stipend of $530 a month to an accompanier like Spencer Saavedra. Manny lives and works in Guatemala City, and he sends us a monthly friends and family letter to let us know what it's like. And he is the 33rd accompanier that UUCA has supported. So he grew up in California. He graduated in 2024 from Amherst College with a BA in religion. One side of his family is from Peru. The other side of his family is from Guam. He spent a year working in Quetzaltenango, Guatemala, at a language school after graduation. He moves nimbly through Guatemala City, which is choked with traffic, on his bike. But accompaniment missions are usually out in the countryside, and the arrangements to be there for them is very complicated. So when we were in Guatemala City for 2 days, Manny and the Nizgwa staff, they took us around and tried to give us an understanding of the sweep of Guatemalan history and the courage of individuals fighting for human rights and the importance of a community of memory. Many of the places we went, on the outsides of buildings, you would see, just going down the street, you would see pasted up on the sides of buildings posters with the faces of genocide victims from 30 or 40 years before. Many places we'd see graffiti or murals about the importance of memory and the importance that young people remember the past. And we saw, it wasn't all tragic. We also saw many symbols of memory, hummingbirds and red carnations in particular. The reason that hummingbirds are a symbol is they are the only bird that can fly backwards. And the idea is you cannot understand where you are going unless you know your past. One of the things that we learned from our partners there is that in the connection through community and memory, resistance is also an act of love. So one of the places they took us was Famdegua, where we met with relatives of genocide survivors, and they told us about what they had been doing. And when asked why, after all these decades, would they not move from their village, they said, because they might come back, and we want them to be able to find us. and they described setting a place at the table for their lost loved one, who they hope is temporarily lost, but FAMDEGWA has investigated over 165 exhumations and found over 1,800 sets of remains. And that, of course, is a small fraction of the people that Bruce told you about that were lost. So we were moved by the work and the people that are committed to doing the work. And we were appalled by the violence and oppression, and grateful to our human rights partners in Guatemala for teaching us about it. And when we visited their office, which is also the place where Manny Spencer Saavedra sleeps, and many of the accompaniers sleep when they're in Guatemala City, they had built an altar. And on this altar were symbols from human rights struggles all over the world, in particular Palestine. So we left them, and we felt very inspired and resolute.
Good morning. My name is Ann McKnight, and I was on the delegation to Guatemala. My pronouns are she, her, and I am a member of Alianzas, which includes work at Buckingham, the work for the scholarship program, and the support of the accompanier in Nisqua. I first encountered Atavima on a trip with our former minister, Reverend Michael McGee, in 2009. I was impressed that this organization was created by Mayan community activists to find justice for the 500 slain in their community in the internal conflict in the 1980s, which Bruce told you about. These activists sought to find and bury their murdered fathers, mothers, and siblings, as well as reclaim the customs and traditions lost with the deaths of the elders. There's two employees of Atavima whose fathers were disappeared during the 1980s. I just wanted to go off script for a minute, because one of the activities we had in Rabanao was to go and visit this bridge that Barbara mentioned. So in the 1980s, a hydroelectric dam was built in this area of Guatemala where Atavima works. And some of the leaders of the village went to talk to the electric company that built the bridge about how that was displacing 33 villages of their community. These folks never came back. So they were murdered when they went to talk to the electric company. And that was the kind of thing that happened in Guatemala at that time. So anyway, so it was very inspiring, and Atavima was very interested in taking us to this lovely, beautiful bridge. I mean, we would be lucky to have it in Arlington, that was created through reparations for these murdered people of their community, and which connected 18 villages on the other side of the reservoir that only had a swinging, like, donkey bridge that would allow them connection. So this is a very concrete, the things that Atavima does. But So I'll go back on script, sorry about that. When Reverend McGee asked the leaders of Adavima how we could best support and collaborate with them, and they're doing this work on reparations, and they're working with the Congress to pressure the Guatemalan government, they responded that what they wanted was support for the descendants of the murdered Mayans to stay in school. And if you go to these homes, many of them have dirt floors, and they're very, very poverty-stricken. So this was the start of the scholarship program, which has now grown to 60 students. We work with a church in Golden, Colorado, a Unitarian church, Jefferson. We work together and we support 60 students. So our delegation had the opportunity to visit one of the students, Walter, a 13-year-old, in his home and in his school in a remote pueblo reached by a dirt road outside the small town of Rabanal, where we stayed. He is the youngest of 7 children in a family living in a modest concrete house. His father works in the fields, but is supportive of Walter's opportunity to attend middle and high school through a UUCA scholarship. So what happens to these children if they don't stay in school, if they don't have the support after 6th grade, is they go and work in the fields. That's what they do. And the girls tend to marry at age 14 or around that time. So this, 3/4 of the students are girls, specifically because Adavima wants girls to have an education and to be able to support themselves and their families. 2 brothers who did not have this opportunity are undocumented immigrants working in construction in the U.S. So this is what happens, is these young people are forced to make the choice to leave their families, to leave their communities, and to go work in the U.S. UUCA supports Mayan children so that they gain skills and education that allow them alternatives to working in the fields or being forced to immigrate. They have a chance to grow up educated and live, work, and become leaders in their communities in Guatemala. 200 Mayan students have graduated from this program, becoming teachers, accountants, and some have gone on to the university, thanks to your generosity. The Mayan community in Guatemala has faced genocide in the past and murders and discrimination in the present. But the people continue to pursue justice for their human rights and educational opportunities. Their persistence is an inspiration for me when I get overwhelmed by the rollback of our democratic liberties here in the U.S. Their determination inspires me to continue to persevere to overcome the setbacks I observe here. They give testimony on how to continue hope in the long arc of justice. Thank you.
There are likely all kinds of resources examining why it might be that a traveler to a place like Guatemala would suddenly see the injustices of their own privileged country so much more clearly. They are the very same injustices: racial discrimination, corporate greed, inhumanity, government corruption, income inequality, and forgetting. I believe that I more clearly see a well-developed privilege of first world systems of distraction, comfort, alienation, exhaustion, and complexity as the tools that disguise the reality of these injustices by encouraging our forgetting, and the reality that we are all the same humanity. I was on the delegation 7 years ago when I first had this awakening, but this time was more intense for me. This time I noticed the effectiveness and the advancement of the Guatemalan communities we visited in processing and adapting to decades of their government failing them in ways that our own government is just beginning to fail us. As our hosts introduced us to several mutual aid organizations and we heard their stories, it struck me that the Guatemala of today is what happens when income inequality and racial discrimination approach their zenith. When the government decides who is a terrorist. When there is money for the military, but not for the needs of the people. When the courts protect the perpetrators above the victims. When the documentary evidence of misdeeds is hidden or destroyed to protect the powerful. When government corruption becomes the norm. Sounding familiar? I believe Guatemala is the human laboratory for us in the United States about just what happens when our government fails us. The accompaniment program that UUCA supports through NISGWA that you just heard about has now been in existence for decades, and its original prime function was accompanying Mayan people to official court and other proceedings from which they often disappeared without the protection of an accompanier. They disappeared, never to be seen again. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. I notice that over the last year, accompaniment programs have sprung up here in the United States to address the disappearance of immigrants from our own courtrooms. The parallels are stark. They are the same injustices that humans inflict on one another everywhere. What I saw in Guatemala were well-developed networks of mutual aid and support, not fancy, but effective and resilient. People are taking care of people when their government has failed them. Our role in Alianzas is to support these grassroots organizations in doing the work they know best how to do without getting in their way. I support this work as a form of reparations for the deep harm my government, our government, has inflicted in our names for many decades and seems determined to continue to inflict. I also do this work as my commitment to learn about injustice, about privilege, about my values, and how I can bring that awareness back to our first world. As Reverend Amanda and Reverend CTC have recently reminded us of their experience in Minneapolis, we in Arlington need to better understand how mutual aid works for that moment, that seemingly fast approaching moment when our government fails us. Guatemala is the model. By participating in our delegations, I've gained a better sense of people belonging to one another and having responsibility for one another, as James Baldwin has preached. I see more clearly in this independent web that people have much the same frailties, strengths, and hopes, regardless of what culture they come from. I don't speak the language in any functional way, and I want to acknowledge the wonderful translation that Steve Zanheiser contributed to the delegation. But even without language, just being together with our Guatemalan friends lifted my spirits and communicates in ways, many ways, that transcend language. On this Memorial Day, I remember those who sacrificed, willingly or unwillingly, for my privilege as a citizen of the United States. I also reflect upon what our government encourages us not to remember as citizens of the world, and the privilege of that forgetting. I encourage us all to make space for all remembering in our individual free and responsible searches for truth and meaning. I'll close with a short poem that was at the entrance to the Casa de la Memoria, a poem by Humberto Acabal, a Guatemalan poet laureate. From time to time, I walk backwards. It's my way of remembering. If I only walked forwards, I could tell you what forgetting is like. Thank you.
I've been thinking a lot recently about our shared UU value of interdependence and what that looks like in practice. Do we have any Wicked fans here this morning? I promise this is going to make sense. It's okay if you're not. You'll still be able to follow along. I've been thinking about the evolution of the relationship between Galinda and Elphaba throughout the show. At the beginning, Galinda decides that she's going to take Elphaba under her wing. She's going to help her fit in with other people at school. She's going to make her popular. From the outside, it seems like she is doing this out of the goodness of her own heart, but she has her own motivations for making these decisions. She gets to protect her image. She gets something that she wants. She starts out not very authentically, but it's not until she starts to see Elphaba as a real person, to develop a relationship with her, to grapple when Elphaba's choices are different from her own, that she moves from the mindset of saving Elphaba to supporting her, even if that support isn't public. To an uninformed outsider, Elphaba and Galinda's relationship may not have looked all that different from the beginning to the end, but the shift in Galinda's motivation and the approach that both characters take to each other creates a wildly different dynamic and ultimately impacts them in ways that are much more meaningful. I think it matters how and why we show up, not just what we do. And I think it's worth examining briefly this morning. I believe that having clarity on why we do what we do, the values and the convictions that serve as our decision-making compass, is critical. When we can articulate exactly why something is important or even sacred, it helps us remain committed to those actions, even when things get hard. It reminds us of why we serve. In the same way, I imagine that kind of motivation is top of mind for many in the armed forces who talk about serving our nation. When I think about what motivates us in our congregation's social justice work, I keep coming back to the intersection of our shared values of equity and interdependence. And I'm really starting to think that solidarity is the embodiment of those values in action. As a congregation, we don't just recognize intellectually or philosophically that all of us need all of us. We also structure the ways that we do our work to reflect that. We build long-term, meaningful relationships with people and organizations so that we can support and serve them in ways that they have identified as most helpful. We live this solidarity through our accompaniers that we support in Guatemala. We live it in our involvement in Voice, and we live it in countless other ways when we do our social justice work. We also live equity and interdependence through solidarity when we join marches and rallies, sing at metro stations to support federal workers, or go to places like Standing Rock or Minneapolis to literally stand with those who are actively fighting oppression and tyranny. We do not have to be personally or directly impacted by these issues and by these actions to know that our resistance and our presence matters, not because it makes us feel good or morally superior, but because every person around us is sacred, and our shared humanity depends on us recognizing the sacred in each other, because we are part of something so much bigger than ourselves. I invite you now to join me in singing hymn number 159.
This is my song, O God of all the nations, a song of peace for lands afar and wide. This is my home, the country where my heart is. Here are my hopes, my dreams, my holy shrine. But other hearts, you know the lands are beating with hopes and dreams as true and high as mine. My country's skies are bluer than the ocean, and sunlight beams on over leaf and pine. But other lands have sunlight too and clover, and skies are everywhere as blue as mine. Oh, hear my song, thou God of all the nations, a song of peace for their land and for mine.
So please join me as the words are in your order of service as we extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this chalice, but not the light and warmth it represents. These we carry with us, bringing our sparks of love to the world.
As we wrap up our service today, I encourage you to think about what equity and interdependence and solidarity mean to you. What are your convictions and how do they call you to serve? What memories are you carrying forward so that you can honor the sacred in someone else? What opportunities do you have to build bridges even if you don't have a blueprint from getting to point A or to point B? We are all in this quest for solidarity together, and we also need to know why we individually keep showing up. May we leave this space today in search of that meaning, and may we continue to carry memory and hope with us as we go.
We invite you to sing along or read along with the words of the chorus of our closing music, which you'll find in the order of service. You'll also hear the words of the verses, including, I will rise to build up bridges for this broken world to see. I will tear down walls that divide you and me.
I will rise with all my daughters, I will rise against my foes, I will rise with all the mothers, I will carry all their woes.
I will rise to fight for freedom. I will rise though faced with fears. I will rise against all hatred while my eyes are veiled in tears. I will rise for religious freedom, for a rich diversity. I will rise for all the weary, for each lonely refugee. I will work for all our women who deserve equal pay. I will work for all our children who await a better day. Sisters, oh, stand with me. Rise up hand in hand. Oh, stand with me. We will rise to spread love across this bitter land. I will rise for love and justice, that we may see a better day. I will rise in peace and service for our world in disarray. I will rise with all my brothers for all those who cannot stand. I will rise with all our fathers who have lost a home and land. I will rise to build up bridges for this broken world to see. I will tear down walls between us that divide you and me. Sisters, oh, stand with me. Rise up hand in hand. Oh, stand with me. We will rise to spread love across this bitter land. Oh, stand with me. Rise up hand in hand. Oh, stand with me. We will rise to spread love across this bitter land.